Hello and welcome to Elvenhome update number 9. Quite a bit to show you today, and also a little bit going over some old ground perhaps for anyone that's been following me right from the beginning. First of all, a big hello and thank you to all the new subscribers that I picked up last month. I'm not quite sure what caused my last video to get so much attention, but it got over 1100 views and I have something like 56 new subscribers, so welcome to you all. Those of you who haven't slogged through all the other videos may not know entirely what I'm planning to do, so I'll cover that a little bit today. And I've tidied up and I've laid out roughly where buildings are going to be, so that this looks a bit more like what the layout will eventually look like, and I'll take you through that. But first of all, it seemed to me we have almost a complete circuit possible now. So what I'm going to do is just take this pannier tank and the two carriages that you can see in the foreground there around as far as it can go. The train is actually sitting where it will come off a branch that climbs up a hill, and I'll talk through that in just a minute. But it's a beautiful little model, this GWR pannier, which only came out fairly recently, and I just love it to bits, particularly with the carriages behind it, which seems to work just nicely. Okay, well that's as far around as I can get at the moment, because the bit that's in between is all the point work, which as you can see sits on the raised board, and all of that has yet to be wired in, and indeed the point motor's fixed, which is the job that I've been putting off because I'm brand new to this hobby, and wiring all that lot up and getting it to work is frightening the life out of me, but it cannot be put off no longer, so that's the next thing. Those of you that saw the last video will remember that I said at the end that I was going to wire up a Pico double slip, and I keep threatening to wire up a double slip and keep not doing it, but I actually was seriously going to do it and started work on how do you go about wiring one of these things up, because I've never seen, not at Engage anyway, any videos of people actually doing it. And I don't know, for those of you who may have seen the Pico series, let's say Wiring the Layout Part 3, so I thought, well, I'll have a good readout about this, Part 3's Turnouts and Crossings, and I'm glad I did, because to talk about reading the small print, the last full page of the text has a note right at the end. I don't know if I can bring this into focus. Let's see if I can. There you go. Special note on encode 55 slips, which is what I've got. Because the blade throw on these slips is very short, PL15s, that's the contact switches, should be used instead of PL13s. And what do I have? I have PL13s. So I need to invest in some of the PL15s, which I will get at Worley, which I'm going to at the end of the month. I could get them sooner, but I'm going to get all my stuff together there. But in the meantime, I concentrated on doing other things, because that was the main thing, was going to be fixing the double slips on the far side of the layout, just where the let's take you over here. There's a double slip that sits on the board there. If I get it in focus, come on. Okay, you don't want to focus, fair enough, that's not good, there we go. That's better. That double slip was the one I was going to wire, because it sits on its own little board. It'd be easy to take that out, wire everything up, test it, get it all working before I put it back in, rather than the other three, which all sit on the main board that you were just looking at. So that will be done, but it won't be done before December now. But I wasn't going to sort of stop, so let me take you on a tour of what's been done. Well, the first thing obviously is that I've completed the track laying as a complete circuit for what will be the ground level. So if I take you on a bit of a quick tour, starting from the engine sheds here, there's 2 engine sheds, and then behind is a coaling stage, which has a 4F at the moment, underneath it being coaled, which leads through to the turntable, and it's a double slip controls the access to all of the up to the coaling stage and down to the turntable and back. And then you have the 2 main lines are the 2 nearest ones to us, and the one behind is the one that's leading into the sidings and to the engine sheds. But this is Wethertop. This is the station of Wethertop, where you can get a better idea of what I have in mind for this now. There's a bay platform essentially from which the branch line will be served, but that is also the access to the station, and people go onto the station and then go down underneath the platform and will emerge up on the platform, and I'll be putting some subways into the main platform, which, as you can see, is quite long. It's intended to be able to put a train with 8 coaches in it, and I'm pretty sure it's the right length to do that. And you can see here the houses that will form the beginning of Bagshot Terrace. This block of 6 houses and 2 corners, there'll be 2 of those eventually, with a single row at each end. And at the back there will be a shared green area, which I think I'm going to put see if I can get some Anderson shelters to sink into, because this is going to be set at about somewhere between the nationalisation of the railways and the mid-1950s. So all the BR engines that you'll see in colours on here all have the early crest, and there are still engines that will have one of the big 4 liveries, which is why I've got a GWR pannier. As yet, I've got a Somerset and Dorset 4F, and also a Ginty, which is, where's the Ginty? There's the Ginty. That's sitting there shunting the wagons in the sidings. The other thing that I've done, I've put lots of cork down, as you can see. So the track around there is, as far as I'm concerned, pretty much permanently laid now. When I ballast it, that will fix it to the cork, but the cork is stuck down and everything's pinned through. And the clearances are all sorted for the station. That took quite some doing. It was quite a fine adjustments to get the platform in the right place, but still with good clearance for the engines on both sides and carriages, but that's all done. But the other thing which I've done, of course, is to put in the incline. And as you can see here, that's a piece of track that you can see is the start of the branch line. It's not actually fixed on yet, that needs to be done. But the incline has been built to take the line up to what will be the village of High Elven, which sits above the main village of Wethertop. And that climbs its way up to a new height. I was originally going to take it up to about 4 inches, partly because of the old viaduct, that if you saw the last one, you will know that the viaduct, which I've decided not to use, that stood at a particular height and I had to get the incline up to it. Now I'm not using the viaduct. The Bowstring Bridge, which I ordered and which has arrived, I don't need to build it up quite so high, and I think that will work better because it will keep everything below the line of the back seam. That little hut shows you the end of the incline as built so far. It's got some mod rock on the top just to give me a flat surface to lay the track on, which is one of the next things that I want to do. And what I've now got to decide is what happens and how much I want to build up for the village of High Elven that will sit really where you can see the church and those buildings. All those are meant to be about 4 inches in the air, because this area here, it's part or all of it, is going to be covered over. And although I've been following a plan right from the beginning, as some of you will know, and I knew precisely what I wanted in that corner, along with many other modelers, as you start building your layout and the thing starts becoming real for you, you start wondering if that is really what you want to do. So the issue for me at the moment, and I'd welcome any comments that people have, is how much of this area on this, from pretty much where it comes off the bridge here to where it goes off the viaduct here to where it goes over to the bridge there, how much of that do I really want in a tunnel, essentially? There's all sorts of things about cleaning and needing access, but the more I think about it, the more I think that I don't want it all in a tunnel, and that having a hillside that takes me up to Elvenhome, because the branch line goes up to Elvenhome into this corner here, and along this left-hand side will be a station, a siding and a small engine shed, and that's the purpose of the incline. That's why it's been put in there. So I do want to have that, but I'm not sure that I really need the whole of that area covered. So this is one of those things where as you build it, it's changing, which will be sort of quite entertaining to try and get my head around how I actually want it to be. But as you can see, some of the industrial buildings have gone in as well now. This is roughly where I think they'll be. They may not be quite right. That, I think I want that to be served from the river. Although you can't see it from here, let me just turn the model around. Oh. This model has some rather nice, if I show you, there you are, some rather nice doors, obviously for hauling stuff up on one thing or another. And I think that would be rather good if that stood over the river, from which goods could be loaded into the warehouse or from the warehouse onto barges. Which is making me wonder whether I really want a river or whether I really want a canal. And if it's a canal, would I really have a dock on this side of the viaduct, or would that actually be a canal basin? So the danger is the moment you change one thing, your brain starts thinking, well, the rest of it doesn't sort of go together. So I'm trying to work out now how I want this left-hand side of the layout to be. So any thoughts anybody has on that, I'd be very welcome. It is great fun though doing this, because you actually, as you go along, I can see Elvenhome in my mind, but it's changing subtly the more that I build it. The next things really that need to be done is obviously to build the Bowstring Bridge, which has arrived. I need to get the right glue to do that, and also the right paint for it. It's a beautiful model. I mentioned that Scousines do the model, and it's let's see if I can get it for you, just to have a look. So it's in flat order at the moment. But if you want to have a look, Justin, who runs the company, has been under some pressure to do a much longer version of the bridge than I have. And I don't know whether you'll be able to see the detail here, but this is the bridge. There we go. If I put my hand behind it so you can see it a bit better. That's the Bowstring Bridge that's going to sit on the incline. And it's a single track, because obviously the branch line is only a single track. They do a double track version. And I think in 00 gauge, they've just brought out a much longer bridge, I think about 560 millimeters by popular demand, because it does look a beautiful bridge. And it's laser cut in very thin MDF. But some of the detailing on parts of the bridge are really, really very good indeed. And so I'm really looking forward to getting a chance to stick it all together. But I'm not going to bother to do that until I can get myself ready to know precisely how I want that whole area at the other end to look. I think that's about all for the update so far. I mean, as you can see, the various Metcalf kits that I spent my time building whilst I was waiting for the baseboards to come are still sitting there. There's more to be done, because as I said, there's probably another 4 sets of Metcalf house kits to be put together, and I think I've got another 2 shots to put in, which will give a nice mix of stuff for Bagshot Road to work off. And also I need to lay some track. You can see a point just before the viaduct which goes towards the brewery. This is the brewery. Let's get into the brewery, which, as you can see, has some platforms, and the intention is that that's served by rail to allow the goods to move from there. And then I need also to sort out how I'm going to do the walling on the incline. I think what I'm going to have is a sheer rock face for most of that area until we get to about here before the station starts, at which point I'm going to put some wall in. There is enough space for me to get some card here to provide wall along the length of the platform. And then think about how the hills and things will work in for other parts of the incline as it comes down and round the corner here, where it's much lower. So that, I think, would work with embankments and one thing or another. But it's all about now trying to complete the track laying and point laying, but I'm not going to rush at that because, as I said, I'm new to all the wiring stuff and I want to get that right. So once I finish this video, it is probably quite likely that this board here needs to come up, because at the moment there's no power to any part of that section. And what I really want to do is run a spur off the bus that runs around underneath the baseboard, up through the baseboard, and sit it around on this wooden section here. And then I can just drop the droppers down onto a sort of spur of the bus that sits on that board, rather than trying to drill it all the way down. And it will make wiring up the point motors so much easier if I'm not trying to drop the wires and everything else for them onto the accessory bus, which is yet to be installed. I need to install the accessory bus because I have a separate transformer to run all the accessories, which is specifically designed to run with a CDU so that I have enough power to switch over. Those of you that may have seen an earlier one where I was trying to get the point motors to work know that it was only when I bought that and bought that transformer and the CDU that things worked. So I think that's pretty much everything so far. It does look now as though this is beginning to look more like a layout and less like a building site. I have tidied up especially for you, seeing as I knew you had people coming. But with one last look of Elvenhome, I'll bid you farewell. Once again, thanks to all the new subscribers. I hope you enjoy watching this, and I'm interested in any comments that people have. And if you're new, please feel free to like and subscribe. And I'll see you again probably in about 4 weeks' time. It will certainly be after Wally before I do anything, do another video, because you never know what may come home with me from Wally, knowingly or unknowingly. It's amazing how much you find yourself buying things and then trying to remember when you actually did. But your credit card account most certainly says you did buy it. Anyway, I'll speak to you again soon, and bye for now.